It's a weird days around this place, I tell you.
Do you guys hear that?
Take me back to old Yazoo. Everything up here is new. I can't stand it, just must land it.
On April 1st, 2025, the family behind this rather new YouTube channel called Hayu Adventure set out on what was supposed to be a peaceful camping trip by the coast, complete with beachside cooking, family meals, and a relaxed overnight stay near Pantai Randuanga, a remote beach in Indonesia. But the night that followed turned out to be anything but peaceful. From the outset, the family maintained a joyful and lighthearted energy, focusing on food prep and sharing laughs with their children. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, rain clouds rolled in, and the campsite was blanketed in a humid coastal fog. But then, later that evening, the strange activity began.
Oh, hujan teman-teman, ya. Berhubung ini hujan ya, lihat kita di tepi pantai, gelap ya. Berhubung ini hujan, jadi kita akan pasang tenda.
Without any prompting, one of the children in the family reported seeing a shadow move behind the tent. At first, the adults laughed it off, assuming it was a trick of light or fatigue setting in. But moments later, another child claimed to see something as well. And then another. This time, the family took it seriously and began checking the surroundings with flashlights. What they captured on camera was unnerving. They saw quick darting figures visible just at the edge of their light's reach, shapes that didn't resemble animals, and moved far too quickly to be people walking. Despite the tension, the family chose to continue camping, hoping that maybe it was their imaginations playing tricks. They returned to their tents, nervously laughing and trying to stay composed for the children, but the strange activity didn't stop. It intensified. Not long after returning to their tent, the family began hearing unmistakable whispering coming from outside. There was no one else around for miles, and it appeared to come from multiple directions at once. One of the most disturbing moments came when their camera caught what appeared to be multiple glowing eyes. It was as if something, or many things, were crouched nearby, just watching. From that point on, the family began seeing one shadow after another, most often described as tall, human-like silhouettes, slipping behind trees, only to reappear elsewhere. At least one figure was caught moving quickly from left to right behind the tent. The father tried to keep everyone calm by distracting the kids and downplaying the events, but the truth was obvious. Eventually, they reached a breaking point. The family quickly gathered their belongings and decided to abandon the campsite. The children, now frightened and fully aware of the situation, helped pack in silence. And with the last of their gear shoved hastily into bags, they left the beach behind, speeding off into the night without ever looking back. What did you think of this encounter? Let me know. Before moving to the next encounter, I just want to take this moment to thank and congratulate you all because we have crossed 50,000 subscribers. Our 50K special free surprise was revealed, and almost all of you seem to love it. I'm beyond blessed to have you as community, and I'm more committed than ever to bring you the best and most entertaining videos possible. I aim to take this channel to #1, and I will do that no matter what. So, subscribe and enjoy the show. Our next goal is 100,000 subscribers before August. Once we reach that, I'll reveal another awesome surprise for you all. Now back to the video. Mandog Wild is a channel that usually blends rugged solo survival with a laid-back exploration style, often accompanied by his loyal dogs. But in this unsettling video, set deep in what the host calls the Skinwalker Mountains, the footage reveals what might be one of the clearest signs of occult activity. He begins the video with a discovery made in a previous video.
I'm thinking if those bones in the burnt circle is some kind of marker or something else, whatever it is, it's there for a reason and someone's put it there. So what we're going to do today is head back over there and take a closer look around, because if it's that's there, more than likely there'll be other things there that we missed. Bear in mind it was during the night, so it was dark and we could have just walked straight past some interesting things. So I'm out here today with Yeti, DC and Bali to take a closer look. Just insane, all these flies. Reminds me of a story of the kind of early explorers of Canada, and they were exploring and they were literally driven mad by black flies, and I can totally understand it. I don't know why everything's clean. Everything's clean. Oof, disgusting.
A bone marker arranged in a strange formation found in the middle of nowhere. Curious and unsettled, the host returns, this time in daylight, accompanied by his dogs Yeti, DC, and Bali. The plan is to revisit the site and explore the surrounding area to see if there are more signs of ritualistic or supernatural activity. As they move toward the original marker, they find it still intact.
You can see just there, that's the bone marker. And that's where we come out of the woods. Let's just take a look at this these bones again and see if any of them have been disturbed or anything. Well, they are now. As far as I can tell, there's just this one was over here. What do you think, DC? It's very interesting, but the speculation is obviously this is man-made, a marker of some kind. That's what I'm thinking. And so if that's here, what's it marking? What's it represent? And so we're going to delve deep into the woods here, take a look around and see if we can find out. So it was clearly a road, but once you get up to the plantation, it kind of just disappears. So I guess we're just gonna walk around, see if there's any other strange stuff about.
Bones arranged carefully in a circle, a makeshift altar in the clearing, but this time they noticed something else nearby.
Just walking along the outside of the plantation. I see DC sitting down. I look at her, I look up, and there's this thing hanging from a tree, piece of string. What is this supposed to represent? Again, another marker. It's a strange marker, especially considering it's a upside down cross, huh? Charlie. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, have some water. Buddy. Buddy, yeah. Buddy. Buddy.
A second upside down cross, strung from a tree with cord, then a third, then a fourth. These aren't randomly placed decorations. They are spaced deliberately, clearly marking something. What they stumble on next is even more disturbing.
So I followed the trail out to this ledge. I can't see any more markers about. I see nothing. A few rocks. And maybe down there. Look at that. You see that ledge? Looks like something's going on down there. Okay. A stone circle with 4 upside down crosses in the middle. Now, they could be attempting like a teepee fire lay, but I don't think that's what we're going for here. It's interesting. Upside down cross. What does the upside down cross represent? The devil, I assume? Something to do with that kind of thing? If there's black magic like this occurring in these mountains, could that explain all the unusual occurrences, the odd experiences, the high strangeness? And this reminds me of the legend of the Loch Ness Monster, who some believe was summoned through the dark arts by Aleister Crowley. Now, if I believe this is some kind of ritualistic practice, could that then explain all the strange experiences that we've had?
A stone circle in the center of the woods, surrounded by 4 upside down crosses, positioned precisely at 4 corners. The arrangement is too exact to be accidental. While it could be mistaken for a teepee fire setup, the symbolism, especially the inverted crosses, suggests something far darker. It can be connected to black magic or satanic ritualism, possibly even referencing the legend of Aleister Crowley, and the theory that dark rituals once summoned the Loch Ness Monster through similar means. As he continues following the trail, the host finds additional markers strung along what he had initially believed was a game trail, but this trail seems different. Adding to the unease, his dogs, veteran explorers used to mountains and forest terrain, begin acting strangely. One refuses to eat, another won't move past a certain point in the trail. Even the healthiest of the group shows clear signs of stress, staring into the trees and growling softly. The final stretch of the exploration brings them to an overlook, just above the side of the stone circle. From here, the host points out potential spots to set up camp, not at the site itself, but just far enough away to watch without being exposed. Return at night, stay hidden, and see what, if anything, returns to this ritual space when the sun goes down. This wasn't just a weird coincidence or abandoned junk in the woods. It's a pattern, a system, a message, and if the mountains are trying to warn him, or anyone else, there's a chance that message might be darker than anyone wants to admit. Uploaded on April 9th, 2024, a solo camper from the channel Min Story set out to spend a night in a remote and decaying shack deep within an Indonesian plantation. The structure, now abandoned, had long been rumored to be haunted by disturbing manifestations, particularly sightings of a kuntilanak, which is a creature in Indonesian folklore, and the spirit of a child who died tragically during its construction. But nothing could have prepared him for how active and oppressive the experience would become. The journey to the hut wasn't short. Traveling on foot, the host made his way in with only his flashlight and gear. The shack had once been home to an elderly man who abandoned it after repeated paranormal disturbances. Since then, local tales had only grown darker. Some claimed to see shadows in the windows, some claimed to hear children's laughter at night, and strange crying sounds no one could explain. He arrived well after dark. The shack's roof, made of dry grass and reeds, creaked in the wind. Inside he found an old bed frame, tools scattered across the floor, and a faint lingering smell of something burnt. Before setting up for the night, he checked carefully for snakes or insects, but his unease had already begun to rise. The energy inside the hut felt heavy, like a cemetery, as he put it. As he prepared his sleeping area, strange things started happening.
Oke teman-teman, jadi karena di depan pondoknya nggak ada tutup ya ataupun penghalang, jadi suasananya itu makin dingin banget, jadi anginnya itu masuk ke dalam pondok teman-teman. Saya itu curiga sama suara yang kletak. Dari tadi ya, suara bunyi tersebut itu kayak berpindah-pindah teman-teman. Kadang suaranya itu kedengeran dari jauh dan kemudian juga terdengar dari dekat. Tapi kalau misalkan ditengok atau dilihat ya, itu kosong. Dan saya mencium bau teman-teman. Ini kayak bau-bau apa ya namanya, kain-kain yang kebakar gitu, kayak kain kebakar.
He heard faint voices coming from outside, almost mimicking his own speech. Then came the unmistakable smell of burnt cloth. As he called out into the dark, the small shack suddenly shuddered, as if something had brushed or pushed against it from outside.
Saya merasakan ada yang janggal teman-teman. Saya merasakan yang janggal. Barusan teman-teman kalian bisa lihat tiba-tiba gerak sendiri. Siapa itu?
He stepped out with his flashlight but found nothing. Then the rear wall of the hut began to move. Something unseen, was pushing or brushing against it. A bamboo panel shifted, seemingly on its own. He began hearing more whispers and shuffling outside, and again, nothing was visible. When he investigated, he received only silence and a sudden stillness that made him retreat inside again. Later in the night, as he was trying to sleep, he was abruptly woken by a clear voice calling out near the hut. Grabbing his flashlight and camera, he ran outside. Again, there was no one there. He set up 2 cameras to monitor the area and tried to settle back in, but the activity only worsened. At one point, the entire hut trembled, and something began rattling the roof. The burning smell returned, sharper now. As he turned again to check, his camera captured what appeared to be a fabric sheet twitching on its own, almost as if being tugged by an unseen hand. It wasn't just a bad feeling, it was as if something was toying with him. Realizing the activity was only intensifying, he made the decision to stay alert through the remainder of the night. For Min's story, this solo camp was one of the most terrifying of his life. Like always, let me know what you think of this encounter. The Paranormal Chambers is a UK-based team known for straightforward boots-on-the-ground paranormal investigations, often without theatrics, just raw footage and real reactions. In one of their most popular videos, they are at Cannock Chase, a notoriously haunted woodland in Staffordshire, England. The area has long been associated with reports of ghostly children, shadow figures, and even cryptid sightings. Their plan was to do a daytime recon followed by a full night investigation, setting up gear and conducting EVP sessions after dark. As they parked and walked into the trail system, they noticed 2 people emerging from the brush, strangers who didn't greet them, speak, or even acknowledge their presence.
Hi guys, well, we're back in Cannock Chase. We're just having to do a bit of a detour. We've parked up and we started walking into the forest and 2 people came out of the other side, and then for some reason they keep following us. So we just walked up one way and they walked up there and they were watching us, so we've waited for them to go off the other way. And we've come back down this way, and now we're just seeing if they do follow us or not. So we'll keep you posted. We just thought we'd start the video now. Not quite started the way we were expecting, but I don't know if it's there now, I can't see. I think we've given them the slip for now.
Lots of weirdos around this place, I tell you.
Yeah.
That was strange, that, guys. That was strange, that was. What happened is we parked up, found somewhere where we can go, do a bit of investigating in. And as we started walking, about 100 yards in, 2 people come walking out the brush. And they started going up, then decided to turn back and follow us. And they were literally on Sarah's shoulder.
At first, they assumed it was a coincidence, but as the team continued down the path, the 2 individuals began following them, uncomfortably close, right on their shoulders. Trying not to raise alarm, they ducked off onto a side path, hoping to lose them. They waited, listened, and when they emerged again further down the trail, the same 2 people were still there, lingering nearby, staring.
Right, here's another update. We are still being followed. We just seen them walking down the track behind us. They're probably about 200 yards up from the track. I don't know whether you can make that out, but there's the track up there. and they're just up round that corner. One of them just popped his head round the corner. You can't just go for a nice civilised walk without people sort of following and wondering what they're going to do. Can you hear him? You can hear him talking. Can you hear that?
Listen. They might not know that we've gone up this way.
Phew, it's a bloody steep hill. I don't know if you can make that track out down there, guys.
They changed direction again, this time heading deeper into the forest in the hope of losing their pursuers. As they walked, they began hearing snapping branches and whispers behind them. When they'd stop, the sounds would stop. When they'd move, the sounds picked up again. At one point, they heard clear footsteps in sync with their own, as though someone was mirroring them just out of view. They tried to act natural, but for obvious reasons, they couldn't. They ducked into a more remote side path and found an old makeshift den, likely built by kids or campers. If needed, they figured it could be used for cover. But even there, they heard the voices again. Then came the final moment of confirmation.
There. I just seen him. Just to the left of that tree. You alright?
Yeah. But then when I stop and look, it like stops. But when I start walking, I hear it.
They're probably them still following us.
I don't know.
They saw one of the individuals pop his head around a tree, watching them from up the trail. He didn't say a word, just looked and vanished behind the brush. Feeling surrounded and unsure of the stranger's intentions, they decided to end the investigation early. Their original plan to wait until sunset and film a full paranormal session was abandoned. They had no way of knowing if these people were simply trying to scare them or had more dangerous motives. Either way, it wasn't a risk they were willing to take. The strangers never confronted them directly, but they never stopped watching either. They left Cannock Chase shaken. Posted to YouTube on September 17th, 2024, a video from the channel Guess It Official documented a terrifying night inside a traditional joglo-style house hidden deep within an Indonesian forest. The home, long abandoned, was believed to be cursed, surrounded by rumors of dark spirits, voices in the night, and figures that appeared and vanished without explanation. The explorer, joined by his frequent collaborator Bang Ali, set up camp just outside the home, knowing full well the stories that surrounded it. Even before sunset, strange signs began to appear, but nothing compared to what they would experience once darkness fully settled in. Instead of sleeping inside, they decided to pitch a tent nearby, hoping to keep a safe distance from the disturbances inside the house. That precaution, however, proved almost meaningless. As they tried to sleep, strange movement was heard outside the tent. Both men sat up, their flashlights sweeping the area. Then Bang Ali saw it, a pale, white figure darting across the nearby clearing. He described it as thin, disheveled, and unnaturally quick. The figure matched countless reports of Kuntilanak sightings tied to remote forest areas like this one. Guess It decided to enter the house alone, camera in hand. Every step echoed unnaturally. In the hallway, his camera began glitching. Lights pulsed and dimmed, and faint whispers began to creep through the silence. In one room, a door slammed shut behind him. Despite no visible breeze or motion, he heard someone, or something, walking above, though the home had no second floor. As he moved into the back area of the house, he was met with a strong, sudden sensation of being watched. The flashlight flickered again, and a noise like fingernails scratching on wood was heard through the room. Outside, Bang Ali shouted a warning. He had just seen the white figure again, this time staring directly through a window near where Guess It stood. Guess It tried to stay composed, continuing his sweep of the building. But then came the moment that broke him.
Ya Allah, astagfirullahaladzim. Siapa dia? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Astagfirullahaladzim. Ya Allah. Allahu Akbar. Pak Ali, weh. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Maafin apa ya? Siapa kamu? Astagfirullahaladzim, ya Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim, teman-teman. Allahu Akbar, salah. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Aduh, saya Allahu Akbar. Weh. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Allahu Akbar. Aduh. Ya Allah. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Aduh, Pak Ali.
Something touched his back, a deliberate press between his shoulder blades. He spun around, but there was no one. The pressure was gone, but the feeling was still with him. He ran toward the front door, but before he could exit, the door creaked shut in front of him. As he opened it and burst outside, he found Bang Ali already packing up their gear, insisting they leave immediately. Together, the two left the property behind, rattled and shaken. The haunting wasn't just about shadows or sounds. It was about the growing sense of threat. Something had been watching them from the moment they arrived, and by the end, it had gotten close enough to touch. What did you make of this encounter? Let me know. Exploring with Bear is known for pushing the limits of solo survival camping, often heading into the woods with nothing but basic gear, a rugged spirit, and a camera to document the whole thing. But on a snowy night in early January, he set out to test a homemade clay pot heater during a solo winter camp, only to experience something far more unnerving than just cold weather. The plan was straightforward: test a DIY heater built from stacked terracotta pots, cook up an MRE for dinner, and enjoy some solitude in the forest. With temperatures around 30 degrees Fahrenheit and dropping, Bear set up camp deep in the wilderness, far from roads, homes, or any signs of civilization. Despite still recovering from the flu and possibly pneumonia, he pushed through, eager for fresh air after being stuck inside for weeks. Early on, the vibe was peaceful. He built a fire, pitched his tent, and began setting up the heater. The fire crackled, snow fell gently, and the camera captured the raw beauty of winter wilderness. But before long, strange sounds began echoing through the trees.
You guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? It's getting closer. It's like something's being dragged. Tell me you guys hear that. Something is being dragged over there. Well, it quit. Nope, there it goes. What in the heck? That was a long drag. Like, it just kept going and going. But I don't see nothing, but it sounds pretty close.
It started with what sounded like something being dragged through the woods. The noise was distant at first, but grew louder and more deliberate. It wasn't wind or snow sliding off a branch. It was rhythmic, mechanical, like something heavy scraping the forest floor. Bear paused, listened, and noted how the sound would stop whenever he moved. Then, moments later, it would start again. The dragging continued for minutes, accompanied by cracking branches and faint footsteps. Later, as he walked toward a dried-out lake bed near the edge of his site, Bear spotted unusual marks on the ground, tracks that looked more like drag lines than footprints. While inspecting the area, he found remnants of old furniture and debris, possibly from abandoned camps or even wreckage, but no clear explanation for the noises. He mentioned the area was known as a Bigfoot territory, with past sightings documented on shows like Finding Bigfoot. But until now, he'd never seen or heard anything himself. After returning to camp, he brewed some tea, warmed his tent with the clay pot setup, and settled in for the night. But as the forest fell into full darkness, the atmosphere changed completely. While trying to prepare his Chilimac MRE, Bear's flashlight began to malfunction. The heater failed to warm the food, so he placed it over the fire instead. That's when things escalated.
What was that? So I didn't tell you guys, but off camera, I was just sitting here listening. And over there, because right now the light's in my eyes and I can't see nothing over there. But my eyes are starting to get a little adjusted to the dark because I had no lights on. I was just sitting here. It looked like something white. Like I could see, I could make out something white. And I tried to get a flashlight on it, but then it was gone. So that was pretty weird. But I didn't get to see really what it was, but it looked like something standing. It was lighter. Not white, but lighter. Like I could just make out something. It was weird. I don't know how to explain it really. But when I got the lights on it, it was gone.
While resting in the tent, trying to calm himself, Bear caught sight of a glowing figure in the woods. He described it as light-colored, but not bright white, barely visible to the eye and completely invisible to the camera. What made it worse was that it didn't trigger any sound. It was just there, silent, and very close. Eventually, Bear made the call to end the camp early. Weakened by illness and disturbed by what he'd witnessed, he chose not to risk sleeping through the night in the woods. As he packed, the dragging noise returned faintly in the background, never approaching, but never leaving either. He closed the video by reflecting on the experience. The heater experiment needed tweaking. The MRE was edible if underwhelming, but the night had left him uneasy in a way no gear or preparation could fix. With this final encounter comes the end of another episode. You know what to do, but if you don't, let me remind you again to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment about what you liked and didn't like about this video. We always look to improve our video quality so you get the best videos possible. In about 3 seconds, there will be more disturbing videos on screen for you to watch. And with that, I'm out.